I'm delighted to join now by former Limerick minor hurler Tom Condon as he looks ahead to this Sunday's Electric Ireland GA All-Ireland Minor Hurling Championship final between Galway and Clare, kicking off at 2 p.m. in FPD Semple Stadium. This summer, Electric Ireland is using their social channels to spotlight a player each week, partaking in the football, hurling and camogie minor championships. You can follow the campaign on social media at Electric Ireland and via the hashtag This Is Major. Tom, obviously Clare preparing for a minor Munster final and also a senior Munster final, but I'd say probably weren't expecting to be preparing for Limerick in the senior one.
Yeah, I suppose look, you're staring into your championship over there in the weekend potentially if results didn't go our way, and but yeah, no, look, thankfully the lads pulled off, I suppose, a performance that hadn't been seen coming. They've been getting better game by game, but geez, what a game it was on Sunday, and what a way to go through and then to get the added bonus of a Munster final as well. Like it's just look, you'll take all those little victories on the way, or the little bit of luck. So thankfully it's another Munster final to look forward to.
Yeah, you played with a lot of lads, Tom. I suppose you probably weren't surprised by the performance, but we were waiting a bit longer than we expected for it.
Yeah, and look, I suppose I've the added bonus of playing with these lads and training with them and doing psychology sessions with them and stuff like that. So I was never under any illusion that like Limerick will always bring 100% to the table. I wasn't panicking. I just knew that the lads would deliver a performance, and look, the result would take care of itself. They probably hadn't been hurling to their ability over the last couple of games to the level that we're used to, but look, they were working as hard, they were tackling as hard. It's just a few minor things weren't going right for them. Their handling errors and their shooting efficiency was just way down compared to previous games and years. But and they'd only be performing like in kind of 5 and 10 minute patches, whereas against Cork now, look, they performed for nearly 3/4 of the game. Like, and it was just back to the old Limerick as well, and a few of the lads they're starting to find their form and go back to the levels that they've reached before.
How hard is it to find that form in the red heat of battle, in that heat alone, in the Gaelic grounds, that the ball is going to be a bit sweaty, and as much Vaseline as you want over your eyebrows isn't going to stop getting into your eyes, just the pressure playing in that environment.
Yeah, and what a hot day it was. Like the sun was absolutely scorching, and I said poor Declan Hannon went off with sunburn. I'd say he's that kind of skin complexion. But yeah, look, it's you like how to find your form. Like, you just have to go hell for leather. You have to just trust in yourself and what you've done in training, and what the like your game plan is, and the tactics with that Paul and John come up with. Like, but you have to trust in that you have, as Joe O'Connor used to allude to, you have the hay in the barn. You've the work done. It's just to go out there and just let it all out and throw the shackles off and to play. And look, I said earlier as well, John will always go with the team that is in form, that's playing well in training. So like if you're in form, then like naturally enough you kind of bring it to the game scenario as well. Like, and John is always adamant on that. Like, but yeah, look, and look, you could take Gerard Hegarty there, for instance. Like, he was struggling to find form the last couple of games, and he was just a small bit off. And look, there was a lot been going around as well, negative stuff, but hats off to Gerard. Like, he just stuck at it. He got a score early against Cork. Now things weren't going his way. He was still not getting on as much ball as he wanted to, but he was working hard. He was chasing, he was hooking, he was blocking, he was just getting into tackles, and he just kept working, and then towards the end of the game, then he was back to the old Garrow that we know. Like, and geez, he caught a great ball and scored a great point at a vital time that the momentum was kind of going with Cork, and it just shows like that the hard work and resilience will eventually pay off.
It's I suppose, testament to those players like Garrow, and Kieran Burns was brilliant, and all the boys, that they're never found wanting on the big days when it's on the line. You can see that in their record in Ireland finals, 4 from 4, and same in Munster finals, that when push comes to shove, they'll be there when you need them.
Yeah, and look, again, I just go back to this group of lads. Like, they've come up from the academy all the way right through the underage setups and stuff, and they just have this, I suppose, winning mentality and just this will to win, Joe. And love the hurling, they enjoy doing it. They do it smiling. They love training hard. They love doing the gym work, the extra work and stuff like that. They just love it, and they love going out there and being able to win. And as they always say, win as much as you can while you can, because it doesn't last forever. But like, what a few years these lads have given us.
Yeah, and you could kind of tell in their interviews afterwards, they did kind of realize the scrutiny that was on them, and a lot of the stuff that was said about the players, fair or not. Like, but how hard is it dealing with that? You know, in the lead up to a game, it must be very hard to avoid that kind of pressure and scrutiny from the media.
Yeah, and look, you're always going to be in the spotlight when you're on a national level like this. You know, when you're on TV and you're playing with the inter-county teams, you're always going to be, I suppose, in the spotlight, and no more so than when you're winning. Even more so, when you're winning, like that, you're going to be that they're going to be scrutinising you and saying things and trying to bring you down and stuff like that. It's just part and parcel of it, I suppose. And look, I always say Caroline Curd has been a massive part of that, with dealing with situations and talking to the players and asking like what is the general feeling out there? What are people saying? What are the Josh? And like she meets it head on, talks about it, and goes through it and deals with it there and then, and that's it. Then there's no more outside noise, like Joe, and it's just about the players in themselves just focusing and trying not to put themselves in that situation where they have to deal with that kind of outside noise, as we call it.
Yeah, I suppose you came on the scene before social media, but by the time you wrapped up your career, like, would have been very prevalent. You know, did you try and avoid it, or you just try to ignore it?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're all human, and we're amateurs, and like, you are going to be on social media, you are going to see stuff. It's only I suppose natural human nature, like, so like it's just, I suppose, having the know-how and the sense to ignore it and to not engage in it, not to take it personally, or you know, I look, it can be hard at times, but yeah, I suppose from when I first came on the scene, things have kind of changed an awful lot. I suppose the first breakthrough was in 2005 when the Electric Minor All Ireland Championship was the ESB All Ireland Minor Championship back then, and social media wasn't as prevalent there back then as it is now. Like, so you didn't really have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, talking about that final, what are your main memories that day against Galway?
Joe Kenning. I had nightmares of Joe Kenning for a while after that. Yeah, he scored a goal on me and a few points as well. Like, so it was kind of a Joe Kenning inspired team that day. But the one thing that stuck with me, like, from playing in my minor days, was like, Joe, the way you were exposed to the big stages, the stadiums and stuff like that. Like, because back then the minor championships were played before the senior championship. Like, we played Cork in the Munster final before the Cork Tipperary Munster final in 2005, and then we were played before the All Ireland final in against Galway. And it's just like that, it kind of exposed you to this atmosphere and to the stadiums as well, and it's something that you can kind of carry through with you then as well, that you've experienced it, you know, and you don't get overawed by it and stuff. But yeah, look, back then it was a massive thing back then, especially for me personally, like, coming from a small club and stuff like that, coming up through the underages. I was always kind of there on the development teams, but I had a few friends and club mates that would have made the minor team the year before me, like, so it kind of something that kind of spurred me on to try and make it, because the one thing about the minor championship is that when it's gone, it's gone. Like, you can't go back. Like, whereas Joe Senior, you might get a few years and stuff like that, but you can never go back and get a Electric Ireland minor championship medal, like, you know, so it's something to savour, like.
Yeah, would you encourage lads that are at that grade just to really cherish it while you have it, is the main message?
Oh, just to embrace it, like, and I was saying earlier on, like, you just have to enjoy the moment, like, because, like, no different to anything else in life. It just, sport goes so fast, like, you know, and it's just the memories you can never get back, like, you know, and you just have to kind of just cherish it and live in the moment and in the now and stuff like that, and just enjoy it all, like. And look, you'll be saying to them young fellas like, Joe, don't get yourself worked up over the match. Just take it day by day, and because you can mentally fatigue yourself, like, if you're playing the game constantly in your head. The game takes a life of its own. Like, you can't, like, I suppose, predict how it's going to go. You know, but like you would be saying to them lads, just to relax and enjoy this week and just build up to it. Like it's going to be one of the biggest days of their lives as well.
You mentioned Joe Kenny and the nightmares he caused in 05, but thankfully, I suppose for the Limerick fans, 13 years later, you're on the right side of winning against Joe in the All-Ireland final. And I suppose it was backboned by a Limerick minor side from kind of 2013, 2014, that like he didn't get the job done in the minor. But what set those lads apart? You know, because they really backboned the senior success.
Yeah, I'd say it's just that the fact that they had set up a proper academy for hurling in 2010 and 11, and so like they had gotten the proper coach and the proper exposure to proper strength and conditioning and stuff like that. And I suppose year on year they had a great bunch of lads, like, you know, and there's no doubt about it. There's no other reason that they're just unique hurlers and phenomenal. Like, and I suppose everything bundled into one. They just had this winning mentality, and their skill set was just so high. They kept together, coming through the different age groups and up along. And as I said, John Dinn just brought in a bunch of lads into the senior setup in 2017 and 18, like, and look, the rest is history. Like, but I think that it was these development squads in the academy, I think, were essential to the success of Limerick now.
The only team that has really kind of got the better of them on a couple of occasions is this Clare team, and we obviously have a rematch in the Munster final. I suppose you'll be looking for something similar to 2022 with the extra time. Like, it is, you know, a phenomenal rivalry, really.
Oh, it is, and I've said before, like, Clare, no matter how bad, good Clare are going, they always bring the best, or their best game, or their A game for Limerick, and Limerick vice versa. Like, Joy, it always is just there's so much tension at the game. I suppose it's just you don't want to lose to your next door neighbours and stuff, and it's just added rivalry that has gone down through the years. And I suppose, look, there's bragging rights and everything, and I think it's just the makings of an unbelievable game Sunday week.
Yeah, it's what to look forward to. I suppose last couple of things, just on the position of cornerback where you excelled, like, how different is it, I suppose, when you started your career to when you ended your career to even what it is now?
Yeah, when I was actually on the underage teams with Limerick, I was actually playing midfield and centre forward. And it was when I was on the under 17 team at the time, the development squad for the minors, they actually put me back cornerback, and I kind of stayed there ever since. But yeah, look, it has changed greatly since, you know, from when I first started. The cornerback now is more, I suppose, what's the word I'm looking for? More complete hurler. Like, you know, they need to be able to attack as well as defend, and even at the senior level now, you see like Barry Nash bombing up the field, scoring 1-1 in a game or 1-2 in a game. Like, you know, if I did that back when I first started out, I'd be whipped off. Like, you know, where you go on, you get a nosebleed and stuff like that. But yeah, no, the hurling in general, like, has just gone to phenomenal heights as regards like the skill level and just the conditioning of these players, like and the physicality. The speed of the game has just gone through the roof, like, in the last, I suppose, 10 years. Like, it's just frightening.
And talk to us how difficult it would be for someone like Mike Casey now, who's used to playing fullback, to go out to the corner, because it might only be 10 or 15 yards to his right, but completely different positions in today's game.
Yeah, well, I would have said, like, if you went back to when I was first on the scene, like, you had set cornerbacks and set fullbacks, but I think the way the game has gone in the last probably 4 or 5 years, your full back line has to be able to cope to play in any position along the full back line, like, because forwards are moving a lot more now than they were, Joe, going back 10 whatever years ago. Like, before, it was just hit the ball in and it was a 50-50 ball and you contested it and whatever, whereas now forwards are moving into pockets of space and stuff like that. So you have the full back line has to be flexible, that the full back has to be comfortable going out to the corner and playing cornerback for a while, and vice versa. And I think Mike Casey, I think he is very flexible and versatile, but he probably is so used to playing full back. Like, you wouldn't think it is, but there is a difference between playing full back than playing cornerback. Like, you know, sometimes you have to mark differently when you're in full back, because a cornerback can maybe play from the front and take a chance, whereas when you're full back, like, if you play from the front and Joe, you make a mistake, whatever, it's nearly 9 times out of 10 it results in the goal. Like, so there is different, I suppose, aspects of playing in the fullback and cornerback.
And lastly, just talk about taking on certain fellas. If you were to mark Erin Glennon, would you mark from the front and worry about him from behind, or would you just let him get in front of you and just let him score points?
Yeah, well, I think, as they used to say, you have to be touch tight in him. Like, but you try and keep him alongside you and just where he is, know where he is, and then look, if he beats you in a foot race to the ball and he gets the ball, then you kind of just protect the goal, and if you concede a point, you concede a point. But yeah, look, he's on his game in top form. He's just unmarkable, I think, and I think a lot of the top backs over the years would have struggled to mark him. Like, he seems to have it all, like Joe, physicality, skill wise, his striking and everything, and even his eye for a pass. Like, he can be very unselfish. Like, where you'll be saying he should be a bit more selfish, because even the last day I felt he could have gone himself for the goal instead of trying to draw a label off for Seamus Flanagan. Like, but no, look, he seems just an all round complete player. Like, and when Erin Glennon is in form, like, Limerick normally are going well, and there's just no stopping him.